Former U.S. President Donald Trump remains defiant after being charged in New York court. French President Emmanuel Macron arrives in Beijing for a meeting with Xi Jinping. Thousands of residents leaving Hong Kong for the holidays. Hello and welcome to TVB News. As the first ever former U.S. president to face criminal charges, Donald Trump pleaded not guilty to all charges as he appeared in a Manhattan court Tuesday afternoon. A New York grand jury charged Trump with 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in relation to hush money payments to cover up Trump's alleged affairs. Trump flew back to Mar-a-Lago after the court appearance, and his next court hearing is set for December. Tracy Furness has more.
Video cameras were only allowed in the hallways of the Manhattan courthouse where Donald Trump surrendered to authorities. He was fingerprinted but did not have to wear handcuffs. Trump sat grim-faced as a 16-page indictment and statements of facts were unsealed. It read, "The defendant Donald J. Trump repeatedly and fraudulently falsified New York business records to conceal criminal conduct that hid damaging information from the voting public during the 2016 presidential election." Trump was in court for about an hour, and when he was asked how he pleaded to these charges, he firmly said not guilty. As Trump was leaving court, he turned to District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who brought the charges and glared at him for several seconds. Outside the court, opinions were divided about this case.
They brought up this case to humiliate him, to stop him from running. This is a shared political persecution, which is very dangerous for our country.
Well, a lot of people are pretty tired of Trump, and a lot of people feel like this circus needs to end at some point.
Several of former President Donald Trump's children, including Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and Tiffany Trump, were seen at Mar-a-Lago to watch their father's speech after he flew home from his arraignment in New York.
I never thought anything like this could happen in America. I never thought it could happen. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it. This fake case was brought only to interfere with the upcoming 2024 election, and it should be dropped immediately.
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
French President Emmanuel Macron arrived in Beijing for a 3-day state visit where he will be joined by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. The trip is a bid to dissuade Beijing from supporting Russia's invasion of Ukraine and to forge closer trade ties. Jackie Lin reports.
First came German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, then European Council President Charles Michel. Next, it was Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez. Now the latest European leader to visit Beijing, French President Emmanuel Macron, at the invitation of President Xi Jinping. It's also Macron's third China trip during his presidency. At his first stop, the French embassy in China, Macron said France and China should not unpack from each other, and the two countries should further discuss their trade ties because Russia should not be the only country in dialogue with China. Macron will meet with President Xi on Thursday before trilateral talks with Xi, Macron, and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen begin. Von der Leyen was invited by Macron to underscore the solidarity of Europe in resolving the Ukraine issue. Both leaders expressed hope earlier that China could leverage its influence to drive peace in Ukraine, or at least not directly support Russia in the war. Earlier, Beijing stressed China is willing to communicate with Europe to work out the Ukraine situation through political means. The two sides will also sign bilateral agreements on trade and climate change after the meetings. By the end of Macron's 3-day state visit, it is possible that the Comprehensive Agreement on Investment, a landmark trade deal between China and the European Union, could be reactivated. On the last day of Macron's visit, he will travel to Guangzhou. The Élysée Palace said that's because it's one of the most prosperous places in China, and Xi Jinping's father also served as a party secretary of Guangdong. It's understood Xi will receive Macron again in the southern province. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
After wrapping up her South America tour, Taiwan leader Tsai Ing-wen made a stopover in the U.S. Meanwhile, China launched drills in parts of the Taiwan Strait as Tsai gets ready to meet with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Tsai arrived in Los Angeles, California, and was received by Laura Rosenberger, chairperson of the American Institute of Taiwan, and Xiao Bi Kim, the Taiwanese representative in the U.S. Tsai and McCarthy are scheduled to meet this Thursday at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in California. Beijing said it resolutely opposes the meeting as it violates the One China policy and that it sends the wrong signal to Taiwan independence separatists. Taiwan's former leader Ma Ying-jeou continued his mainland tour and reached Shanghai today. It is the last stop in Ma's 12-day visit. Ma departed Chongqing this morning before setting off to Shanghai. There, the former chairman of the Kuomintang Party visited Yangshan Port, which handles nearly half of Shanghai's annual cargo traffic. On Tuesday, Ma will visit Shanghai's Fairmont Peace Hotel, which hosted various trade talks and cross-strait exchanges. He will also go to the Siheng Warehouse, one of the historical sites which marked the first phase of the Second Sino-Japanese War. Ma is set to return to Taiwan on Friday. And back locally today is the Chinese traditional Qingming Festival. The tomb sweeping and Easter holidays mark the first long holiday opportunity since the Hong Kong mainland border fully reopened. Many Hong Kongers are leaving town this week, leading to long queues at the airport. Veronica Lin reports.
This family can't hide their excitement about their upcoming trip. The airport's departure hall was packed with tourists this morning, with long queues snaking around the airline counters. This traveler, surnamed Lung, is heading to Taipei for 5 days. He says he travels every chance he gets, and this is his first trip with his daughter since the COVID pandemic. He's hoping to visit the night markets and the zoo. Travelers have pointed out that flight tickets were more expensive than off-peak periods. Lam says a one-way ticket to Taiwan is $5,000, 2 to 3 times more than the regular price. But she believes it's worth it, as it's nice to get away from the hustle and bustle from time to time. Japan is yet another top destination among Hong Kongers. Numerous Japanese airports have been swamped with tourists, though travelers say they are ready for the wait. This lady is well prepared, as she packed dozens of sushi and bread rolls for the 5-hour arrival queue in Japan. She's also paid extra for a front row seat to skip the queue. The Immigration Department expects from the 1st to the 10th of this month, around 9 million will travel into and out of the city. The department says it has allocated additional manpower to cope with tourists. Veronica Lin, TVB News.
Many residents have made their way to Macau for the holidays via the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. The average time it takes to cross the checkpoint is around half an hour. At the Hong Kong port, a sign reads that queues for the cross-border Golden Bus is more than an hour. After passing through the checkpoint, queues snake around the departure hall. The Macau government's real-time data suggests Hong Kong arrivals in Macau have reached full capacity. Traffic was paralyzed in the morning at the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau departure lane. Authorities asked drivers not to travel to the checkpoint. Many residents paid respects to their ancestors during the Qingming Festival today, the first such occasion since authorities dropped all COVID-related restrictions. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Gray skies, drizzle, and the smell of incense set the scene for the solemn occasion. Qingming Festival is a traditional festival in Chinese culture, when families gather at the final resting places of their ancestors to make offerings such as food, drinks, and joss sticks. The grim weather conditions did not prevent both old and young to pay their respects and perform their tomb sweeping duties. Some people even came from abroad just to make offerings at this cemetery at Diamond Hill.
Come all the way from England, and I brought my 2 young boys to visit my late grandmother and to really experience this festival, which they've never really done before. It's exciting, but it allows them to sort of stay in touch with their heritage as well.
Traditionally, people would burn some of their offerings as an act of veneration and worship. But some who came today chose to honor their ancestors in a different way.
We didn't bring anything because we are Christians, so we just come for pray together, and we are waiting for another family member to join us. I feel a bit crowded after the pandemic. In the past, they don't have opportunity to visit to join together family reunion.
To help people who showed up at grave sites across the city, authorities prepared extra joss paper burners at various cemeteries. Some areas around the city's burial grounds have been cordoned off and are expected to be closed to traffic throughout Easter. Since early morning, huge numbers of residents have arrived at the Garden of Remembrance at Diamond Hill to make ritual offerings to their ancestors. The Qingming Festival is one of the most important days in Chinese culture and is observed by much of the overseas Chinese community. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Coming up, Finland has joined NATO, but Moscow vows countermeasures. Volodymyr Zelensky visits Poland to thank its support in war against Russia. Invitations for King Charles's coronation are ready, but Joe Biden will not attend. Welcome back. Finland formally joined NATO on Tuesday in a move that drew a threat from Moscow of countermeasures. The Nordic country's accession ends 7 decades of non-alignment and doubles the border that NATO now has with Russia. Matthew Bray reports.
The Finnish flag was raised at NATO headquarters, attended by the Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg and the Finnish President Sauli Niinisto.
Finland has today become the 31st member of NATO. The era of military non-alignment in our history has come to an end.
Inside the NATO building, Stoltenberg extended congratulations.
Let me start by welcoming Finland as the newest member of our alliance.
Finland joining NATO deals a blow to Russia since it blundered into Ukraine over a year ago. Helsinki has been neutral since the Second World War. Now NATO is up even further on Russia's borders, another 1,340 kilometres. Moscow has warned that it would take retaliatory steps to address what it termed threats created by Finland's membership. That may mean bolstering forces near the border should more troops or equipment be sent to Finland, although much of Russia's capable forces have apparently been used in Ukraine. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said the accession of Finland to NATO had been a priority for Biden. The Kremlin has not that many options, though, beyond bold statements about countermeasures. It did carry out a hacking attack on the Finnish parliament's website. A group known as No Name 057-16, which has acted on Moscow's orders before, said it was responsible. Finland, on the other hand, has significant real capabilities, a 280,000-strong fighting force based on universal male conscription and a well-trained reserve. It has modern artillery, warplanes and tanks, all with one aim in sight, repelling any Russian invasion. Matthew Bray, TVB News.
Ukraine's leader Volodymyr Zelensky is in Poland on a state visit deemed as a gesture of thanks to its neighbor for support over its war with Russia. Zelensky and his wife were met by Polish President Andrzej Duda. The visit is a rare foray outside Ukraine for Zelensky. This trip was also announced in advance, unlike other trips abroad. The purpose of the trip is to primarily thank the Polish, who have been staunch supporters of Ukraine since the Russian invasion. Poland itself feels threatened by Russia on its eastern flank. In Britain, Buckingham Palace have sent out the invitations for May's coronation of King Charles III in London. For the first time, his wife is referred to as Queen Camilla. David Garrett has more.
This was Charles III last week on his first overseas state visit in Germany. The British king already getting used to life as the reigning monarch. In a month's time, he'll be officially crowned in a coronation ceremony at Westminster Abbey. The first Londoners seen since the crowning of his mother, the late Queen Elizabeth II, back in 1953. Here is the invitation, designed by illustrator Andrew Jameson. It reflects the King's love of nature with images of flowers, birds and insects. This has been sent to around 2,000 invited guests. Perhaps the most significant thing is the reference to a new title, Queen Camilla. Camilla is pictured here with Charles in the official release. It shows the couple in the blue drawing room of Buckingham Palace. Her official title had been Camilla Queen Consort, a way to differentiate her from the late Queen Elizabeth, who died in September. King Charles is to be crowned alongside his wife of 18 years, Queen Camilla, at Westminster Abbey on May 6th. US President Joe Biden telephoned the King to tell him he would not be travelling, but instead the First Lady, Jill Biden, will attend the King's coronation on behalf of the White House. The King says he does not want the spectacle to be overly lavish due to the cost of living crisis currently engulfing the United Kingdom. Camilla's grandchildren will be in the ceremony alongside the King's grandson, Prince George, the son of the Prince and Princess of Wales. It is still not clear if the King's second son, Prince Harry, and his wife Meghan will attend. David Garrett, TVB News.
In Scotland, the husband of former First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has been arrested as part of an investigation into the Scottish National Party's funding. Peter Murrell, who stood down as the chief executive of the governing pro-independence party last month, was taken into police custody on Wednesday, according to the BBC. The police are looking into what happened to more than £600,000 raised by Scottish independence campaigners in 2017. The money was missing from the party accounts. His wife, Nicola Sturgeon, stepped down as leader of Scotland's government last month after 8 years in power. TikTok has been fined nearly $16 million by Britain's privacy watchdog for misusing children's data and violating other protections for users' personal information. The UK's Information Commissioner's Office said that between 2018 and 2020, TikTok allowed as many as 1.4 million children under the age of 13 to use the app. This despite the platform's own rules prohibiting children that young from setting up accounts. TikTok, owned by Chinese firm ByteDance, collected and used personal data of children, the office said. TikTok said it disagreed with the watchdog's decision. A logistics company has launched Hong Kong's first artificial intelligence community learning lab for underprivileged kids. The firm has been using AI in its operations and wants to help the next generation learn the skills. Veronica Lin reports.
Logistics company GoGoX, formerly known as GoGoVan, has teamed up with technology training company Preface to establish an artificial intelligence learning lab. GoGoX co-founder and CEO Stephen Lam says AI is widely used in his company, such as when matching a driver to a potential client for delivery service. The newly launched lab offers free access to cutting-edge AI tools for kids with limited access to technology. The targets are primary, secondary, and university students in areas such as Samshebo and Tinshui. The courses include an introduction to AI tools such as ChatGPT, application of AI in everyday life, and more. A trial period will last around 2 months, in which the lab will assess participants' proficiency in AI and adjust the curriculum according to their needs. Since its launch in November 2022, ChatGPT has amassed over 1 million monthly active users. However, certain higher education institutions, such as the University of Hong Kong, have banned the use of ChatGPT. Tommy Low, founder and CEO of Preface, says instead of barring students from the platform, schools should embrace it and teach them how to use it properly.
Regarding the banning of using ChatGPT, in fact, that ban is actually quite invalid because there's no way the university could ban the use of technology. Instead of banning them, we provide an alternative to provide them right education, how to use them ethically and in a right educational way.
He added that with every job lost to AI, a new job will be created because of it. Starting today, pupils can sign up online. The lab hopes to recruit around 300 students. Instead of being replaced by AI technology, founders of GoGoX and Preface hope these kids will be able to future-proof themselves with machine learning courses. Veronica Lin, TVB News.
That is the news. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of the holiday.